when I told myself I was going to do something, I did it. I prioritized myself before other people. And so for me, it was removing tobacco, marijuana, masturbation, porn, and really choosing self. So I told myself I was going to wake up and meditate 20 minutes in the morning, go and journal, and then mindful movement, ice plunge, boom, I did it. And when I removed the self-soothing mechanisms of tobacco, marijuana, and jerking off, all of a sudden life started to work out.
We have Ryan in the house, and we're going to go deep on the subject matter of evolving as a man. He has a really cool project and something that he's working on.
We were doing our best to create opportunities for men to be physical, mindful, and vulnerable.
Love it.
This is like men's groups have existed since the beginning.
Of course, yeah.
The difference is that a lot of them will say they're going to stick a bunch of random guys into a room that don't know each other and say, talk about your feelings. And everyone's going to go, I'm fucking awesome. How are you?
I can see that.
Right. And so there's a wall up. If we understand that men are struggling to feel, and if we can create physical safety, then that will translate into emotional safety. And so when we did physical, mindful, and vulnerable things, it was, let's box, but let's box in a conscious manner to where you and I are agreeing to the pace in which we box at. And if you and I can engage through a mutual shared experience of suffering, then we build respect and comfort and trust. And then when we move into the mindful and vulnerable stuff, then that opens up the ability for people to actually let their guard down and really start to connect. I'm looking for dudes that will hold me accountable, will inspire me, that are on this mindfulness journey, that are constantly going inward, trying to figure out what parts of themselves that they're rejecting, what patterns are exposing, what wounding is driving their behavior. And so we shifted away from that and started describing it more as it's a brotherhood built on the foundation of depth of conversation and connection.
Welcome to a podcast episode number 2 on the audio and video side. Episode number 1 technically is just going to be audio. That's going to be with Maylia, and Maylia showed up as Max on the show, so you're going to want to listen to that. Shout out State 48 Foundation, an amazing foundation. I was there because of Tim. Shout out Tim. He was on the podcast episode of Real Estate First Technology, and we're using the studio, and so we get the new logo and changing some stuff up. I'm really excited about today's podcast. Let's set the tone. So it is going to be about 111 degrees out, 122 September 5th. We have Kiana Reeds in the house. Not really, but we have Ryan in the house, and we're going to go deep on the subject matter of evolving as a man. He has a really cool project and something that he's working on. And shout out to Nico, because Nico is on Real Estate First Technology. I need to get him on the new podcast eventually. He has an amazing podcast as well. Just Grow podcast. I was actually wearing his shirt at the gym today. Shout out Nico. But dude, Ryan, welcome to the Liftoff Experience podcast, man. You cozy? You good? You got some tea from Resident Tea over there or what?
I'm cozy. I feel like I'm at home.
Good.
Your Airbnb guests must be living like 5-star luxury.
They get it all. They get the pool. They get the hot tub.
Do they get the tea too, though?
No. You know what? I think the wife has tea in the fucking fridge.
I thought I was about to feel super special, but it's right that other people get to feel special.
Wait. My wife's not making it for him like she did with you.
And they don't get to choose their cups either.
Correct.
That wall's off limits.
Dude, correct.
Yeah.
Well, she had like all these like racks on the wall. I'm like, honey, like I just can't. This is fucking clutter, dude. I was like, let's just open the fucking wall and just cut out this drywall and we'll just make some shelves and there you go.
Yeah.
And you got like 20 cups in the wall now.
We're great.
Yeah.
And I saw exactly which one I was going for the second
We're twinning, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheers.
The yin and yang.
Here, can we make it happen?
That's a far reach.
Oh, dude, come on, man.
That was a nice clink. Did the microphones catch that?
I think so.
It sounded pure, high
Cheers.
quality porcelain.
Cheers to everyone's success, huh? What are we drinking this one?
Peach, white peach.
White peach, okay. Awesome. I'm glad you remembered because I totally didn't. Man, so let's get into the business, dude. I'm really, first off, I'm humbled. Thanks for coming up, asking me some questions, and just, curiosity kills the cat. Here we are. So I want to get into your personal story first,
Cool.
and we'll just evolve as we go here. Viewers and listeners out there, enjoy the ride, and let's get into it. And if you want to watch it, this is on YouTube as well. If you want to listen to it, then cool.
Heck yeah.
We'll cruise with you on your road trip.
Real quick, what's the standard for explicit content?
Oh, just like
Let her fly.
let it fly, bro.
Okay, cool.
Let it fly.
I can like button up and polish up.
Oh, you're good,
but
dude.
I also,
I've already been dropping some F-bombs and shit,
Okay.
so you're good.
yeah, and sexual innuendos were just.
Yeah, you're good, dude. Don't worry about it.
Norm and I in our last episode were like smoking weed.
Oh,
At the
really?
end, we did have a couple hits, and we had some happy dads.
I like that.
We did.
That's some good stuff.
There was some good stuff. We're gonna keep it G-rated now, but I got a team meeting after this. But go ahead, man. So, so born and raised Arizona. Where are you from? What's going on, bro?
Yeah, born and raised in Phoenix. Was a native boy to the area.
Nice, nice.
Left for college for a little bit, but I'd say I was a baseball player. That was who I was. That's what I did. That's what I focused on, and that's where I got my identity from.
Wow,
That's, that was what made up my value and why I was on this planet. And as most do, that was the dream to go play professional baseball. And about senior year, I realized, nah, that's not going to happen. I didn't end up getting drafted. A few of my teammates did.
Okay.
Had the opportunity to go play some more as a free agent. Just 'cause
Yeah.
it's a small world once you get to that level. And I had some connections where I could have gone and played, but I was like, you know what? I don't really want to be playing this game for the next 5 years, living
Yeah.
out of a van, playing minor league ball, making no money, and then wake up when I'm 29 saying, now I need to start my life.
What are we doing now?
Yeah, and I'd say that was a really good way that my ego bargained with me and like just justified what was going on.
I like it. I like it.
But really, it was a huge dagger, and fortunately, I have a lot of passions, and so I chose to go into business and finance,
Okay.
and had a good stint there in corporate. But I'd say my journey's really been I was a broken kid, like most of us are.
Yeah.
That was finding fulfillment from everything externally, and no matter how many accolades I got, no matter how many home runs I hit, no matter how many women I slept with, no matter how many joints I smoked,
Yeah.
I never felt good enough. And until probably the last 2 years of going inward and saying, screw self-development, it's time to do some shadow work, that's really when things started shifting for me.
Interesting. So how did it feel? You're like wanting to go to the majors, your friends getting drafted, and it's just like, fuck. All right. Well, I guess that's not me. Were you anticipating, thinking about it? Were you getting anxious for it, and then it just didn't happen? Or was it like
Yeah, it's a really good question because I was tooled out. Like they talk about like 5 tool recruits.
Yeah.
And I had good speed, I had good arm strength, I had good bat speed, I had good IQ. I had things that you couldn't teach, and I just never really put it together. I
interesting?
had moments of brilliance.
Yeah.
As Ed Milet would talk about, like my internal thermostat was just too low. My identity was not aligned with the performance when I started to really like step into my power, to step into my greatness.
Okay.
And so yeah, I knew that I was I was consistent and diligent with doing my best to put those pieces together,
Yeah.
but they never ended up being put together for a full season.
Got it.
And so I knew I wasn't going to get drafted. It wasn't a surprise. It was something that I was like anticipating, and when it happened, it was like, this is fucking real,
Got it.
and it sucks.
Damn.
This is and it sucks knowing that I could have been better,
Yeah.
and that I fell short of my potential.
Well, it sounds like the universe had different plans for you.
I have a bigger purpose for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
100%. Interesting. So I like that. I mean, it sounds like, because it's almost like you see the athletes are in this flow state. Everything just works together. And it sounds like you had pieces of the workings, but it just wasn't flowing cohesively, which then was fine, because it seems like where you're at now, you're definitely in a flow state.
Yeah, yeah, especially the last 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, incredible. I'm overflowing. What's up?
What's up, dude? We have some behind the scenes footage
Yeah,
going on.
I'm overflowing with gratitude and awe.
Mm.
The things that have transpired and they're falling into place right now. I remember less than a year ago just like crying and feeling so fucking lost. And now I feel like I am blessed and favored by God. And
Wow.
And it's Nico had a fantastic quote over the weekend, because you were saying that you saw that we were up in Sedona having a retreat. And we went to this place called the Edge of the World, which is just north of Sedona, south of Flagstaff, where you can overlook the entire valley, and it's like you're on top of a canyon.
Beautiful.
It's I think it's like 6,300 feet,
Wow.
and elevation, and he's sitting up there just marveling at the view, like every other of the 13 guys that were there.
Yeah.
He goes, I think my new way of measuring success in life is a number of times I say wow.
Ooh.
I was like, dude, that's fucking solid.
I like that.
But yeah, there's been a lot of wows, like synchronicities of like that's crazy happening
Interesting.
the last couple of weeks. So yeah, there's levels to this game for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. I want to first off say congratulations. First liftoff moment was getting out of that personal zone and getting into the next level of who you are, where you're going, getting to that flow state.
Sure.
How much time passed though from like when you didn't get drafted? There's some other additional opportunities, going to college, right? And so then like how much time passed from now until the last 2 weeks where you're like, whoa.
So I graduated in 2000. So I graduated in the summer of 2017 because I did a 5.5 year plan after switching schools, getting cut from my freshman
Wow.
at Grand Canyon University,
Okay.
going to community college, and then University of North Georgia. So I played all 4 years, never redshirted, and then I had another 1.5 years of schooling to get my business finance degree.
Got it.
So I really stopped playing baseball in 2016.
Okay.
Refused to look at the pain there and said I'll just go do more and be more so I can have more in the finance side and entrepreneurially, which was cool, getting a lot of experience. But yeah, ever since 2016 up until about 2 weeks ago, so it's 8 years of me
Wow.
just like doing work, improving my awareness, expanding my consciousness,
Yeah.
identifying patterns, working on changing limiting beliefs, doing energy work, doing psychedelics, doing different medicine journeys, talking
Wow.
to different mentors, hiring different coaches, going to different retreats. And yeah, it couldn't have happened any other way.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. So for the viewers and listeners out there, I can imagine there's some individuals that are going to be on the younger side and maybe going through. So if you're listening or watching and you can relate to the fact that, Ryan was trying to be somewhere where he wasn't with substance. And we're not talking psychedelics or anything that's going to help you, forwardly evolve, but something that was like, I need to get away. Right. And I think that, there's a lot of people out there that can relate to that. And so what was in your mind thinking, like at that time in your mind, what were you thinking it would do for you to smoke or drink or whatever? And what happened when you came down and you were back into that same state?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's start diving a little bit more into the mindful aspect. There's nothing good or bad. It's only the meaning that we associate with it. But we can call it either satisfying or uncomfortable emotions.
Got it.
And so I was never a big drinker. But I smoked hella pot, and I objectified women for my own benefit, and I engaged in masturbation and porn.
Got it.
And these were all soothing mechanisms so that I didn't feel pain, I didn't feel discomfort. So what was I trying to do? I was trying to feel better. I was trying to just regulate myself.
Wow. And during that time, that would give you a quick fix. And then you're back to the chasing the dragon, I guess you will.
Yeah, the next high. My ability to moderate things is not the greatest, which just makes me really good in certain areas, but it's also kind of double-edged sword. But yeah, especially after masturbation, like I do not care who you are, and I've talked to a lot of guys. After you get your nut, you feel so gross. Like it's the pursuit of it. The second you have your orgasm, and then you're like,
the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah,
How old are you, if you don't mind?
Yeah, how old are you this time?
31.
You remind me a lot of myself. I'm 22.
Yeah.
Hey, everything happens for a reason. We got our man, the myth, behind the scenes, Jacob. You gotta watch his podcast. I believe that everything happens for a reason.
I do too.
Right, there is no coincidences, and so it's funny when you're talking. Jake, it's funny because you gave me the look. I already know, dude. I already know.
Really describing my life, and I'm
Yes.
I'm somebody who can relate heavily.
He's 22 and he's going through like
Yeah.
a divorce and some other stuff right now. So not only are you maybe listening to this podcast and relating, then also on top of that, we are live right now and Jake's going through the same thing. And that's awesome, man. Hey, you're here for a reason, bro. We love you.
And just to elaborate on that, guys, like there's levels to this shit. I'm not fucking kidding when I'd say it wasn't more than 2 months ago that I was going through like spurts of jerking off 3 to 4 times a day.
Whoa.
And I'm like, my dick's sore and I'm still finding my dick in my hand. And I'm going, what the fuck is going on?
You get some big old forearms and shit.
No, dude, I don't have an iron fist. It's all about delicacy, dog.
Dude, I respect how real you're keeping it.
Oh yeah, dude. Like I'm talking about this because it's a fucking issue.
It's a real
Oh,
problem.
100%.
So I was 31. I was the generation that started on AOL Instant Messenger.
Okay.
MySpace.
Okay.
Facebook. I was addicted to Facebook when I was a kid.
Interesting.
So like I went through the whole dopamine thing, and porn was available to me. Like I remember being able to
Yeah.
just search stuff on my dad's Sony Vizio. It was like the high end Sony laptop.
Sony, yeah. I know you're
I
talking
forgot
about.
what it's called, but yeah, and I'd be able to like watch porn, and it was one of those things where the first time I ever jerked off, I was like, whoa. And I went and tried to go do it again like immediately after because it was like such an overwhelming like positive feeling, right?
Yeah, fuck
But,
yeah.
But like none of us really knew what we were getting ourselves into.
No.
And then all of a sudden it turns into a dependency and an
Yes.
unhealthy coping mechanism.
Yes.
And then it goes, well, now I'm an adult and now there's things in life that are so uncomfortable, dysregulating that like I know I can go feel good for an instant
Yeah.
and it's a swipe away from my phone and it's free. There's the big fucking takeaway. If it is free, you are paying for it with your soul.
Ooh. I like that. It's true. Very true. And that's why.
Or your privacy, but that's a completely different can of worms. We're not going to put on the tinfoil hat.
No, that's why, I know before we got started, you're like, hey, how deep could I go? And like, that's exactly what this is meant to do. I feel like there needs to be more open communication with the walls taken down for you. Like, perfect example for you to speak freely and talk about exactly who you are, what you're doing, what you're going through. And it gives me a lot of contrast because on my end, not so much codependency on any of that type of shit. I was just the explorer. So I was exploring and checking things out and porn, did it. Yep. Jerk off, did it, whatever. For me, like, oh, what place can I do it next? Like go on vacation, go here, go there. I'm like, put my mark, fucking. But like, I wasn't like trying to like run from anything. I did smoke a lot of weed and shit like that as well. But
Yeah.
ever since 13, got a job, got to work, super excited about money, what you can buy and how it could work and all the things.
Yeah.
And I was like not black sheep, but I was just like, my parents were like, they're blue collar, great individuals. They just, I always was just wanting to see more. I saw my mom be beat, and I used to live in fix and flips, and my stepfather would like be fixing this house. We had no fucking warm water, and we were living out of trash bags and shit in like Pittsburgh, Antioch, California. Grandparents took care of me for a while, tubes in my ears, diagnosed with a learning disability, a lot of that bullshit, and then like good shit, not bullshit. It helped me who I am to be who I am today.
For sure.
But I saw that, and then when I went to Pleasanton, California, because my aunt was living there and she was a breadwinner, it gave me a total different perspective. Like, whoa, mansion, like nice car, like parents stay together. This is fucking interesting. Like, I got to see a different perspective,
sure.
but I was always focused. I was always on it. I was always knowing that I was destined for more. And I was grateful for what I saw because it gave me the opportunity. And everything in life is yin yang, and you get to see different things. And it's up to you, viewer and listener, to like pick what decisions you make that dictate the outcome of your inevitable future. So it's interesting to hear what you went through and the modalities that you went through to get to where you're at today. And different but similar, like breakthroughs to a point where you see things. And it's interesting when you get there, you'll see things and it's just like, whoa, like dots will connect, things will happen, whether it's a text message, a new friend, something that you see. It's like, it leaves clues.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
No, you
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. And for me, it's been a feeling. So like with the men's work that we've been doing and me connecting with a lot of guys on a very frequent basis.
Okay.
And understanding common threads, there's really two different routes that men will go down to handle the overwhelm of life. And I'd say it's based off of my sample size, about 70% will just numb everything.
Okay.
They will shut down emotionally. They will go stoic. They just will say, if I don't feel anything, then I won't feel pain at all. And then the other 30% just get more active, and they dig their heels in, and their ego gets really fucking strong.
Interesting.
And those are the guys that have the short fuse. They are quick to combat anything that attacks their identity.
Got it.
But for me, I was the one that went fucking numb. Just I have a picture of me crossing home plate in college after hitting a 3-run bomb, not showing any emotion. Literally helmet off, tapping like this.
Interesting.
And because in baseball, the coaches were always talking about, this isn't a game of a roller coaster. We want to be even keel. Well, I took that advice and really embodied that to the nth degree.
Wow. That's very, very interesting. And almost the first thing that came to my mind is like, I want to connect you with my brother-in-law. Because you see his pictures and there's no emotion. He does not smile. I'm like, what? So when you said that, I was like automatically thinking about my brother-in-law. He's over in California I can't even think of the name off the top of my head right now. Bumfuck nowhere, lake, super dope. But no, I like that. I like that you went through those things to get where you're at, to get to where you're going. And there was something that was coming up for me. It'll come up a little bit later that I wanted to bring to the forefront that that would go off of when him and I talked about it too, Jake and I in the last episode, but it'll come back to me anyways. Cool. So awesome. So moving forward and getting into now wanting to support men and going down this journey, like what was the key? What was like the catalyst that sparked the interest for you to be like, all right, this is my calling? Did it just come, or was it a vision? Like how did it?
It's evolved.
Yeah,
it's evolved big time. Yeah. So it started out. I've always been a black sheep, but I've always had a lot of friends. So I would say that I've always had a lot of associates. I always got along with people, but I never felt understood. And when I got into the real world, and had some adversity, I was like, man, like I miss the locker room. And if you talk to any athlete that played at a high level, like they always, you listen to Kobe interviews, listen to any Hall of Famer. It's like, I miss the locker room. I miss the guys. And I found it really interesting that it's like, I graduated. All right, I left school and baseball. Yeah. I go into the real world. Now it's like, all right, you're on your own. And it goes back to the narrative. Like the stoicism or the numbing is like, men don't talk about their feelings, men don't show emotions, men don't cry. Also part of it is it's a dog eat dog world, every man for himself. And so like we're stepping into that with all the subconscious programming and all the narrative of what life is supposed to be like. And I'm like, this is so backwards. Like we're playing the hardest game now called life, and I have to do it alone. And so I started looking for some different men's communities, and I couldn't find one that I liked.
Interesting.
So I said, fuck it.
Do my own.
We'll start one.
I love it.
And yeah, it's evolved quite a bit. And recently we've hit a new level and found new alignment, and it feels really, really good. But yeah, that's how it all came about.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It's interesting too. I'm very much the yin to your yang in a sense where like I'm on the opposite side. Like I was the kind of play with Legos, no friends, never big in sports or any of that type of stuff, scared of the ball, teased and made fun of, held back in third grade. I was that guy. So for me, the locker room is different, right? That conversation is different because, and also for me, it's different because I was raised by women. So my aunt raised me, my grandma raised me. Then I was with my mom for a number of times. And now I'm in an all girls household, like my daughter, my wife, and also our roommate. And I'm putting this together right now. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, painted toenails and shit. What can I say? So, I'm on that side, and I know there's a lot of men out there that are on that side, and there's that modality of like, you're a man's man, playing ball, going out, scrubbing your knees, getting dirty, the whole nine. And I think that there's a big piece of this puzzle that's missing that you could fill to serve so many men out there that are on exactly that page.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a great point. Like, that's just the way that I describe it.
Yeah.
And what's beautiful is if you talk to the 13 other guys that were at the retreat over the weekend, they would describe it completely different.
Really?
Because their experience and their resistance that they had in life and what they found through this group is completely different.
Love it.
So there are some guys who never played sports. They weren't athletic at all. They're frail, to be frank, or they're overweight. And the beautiful thing is that the common thread with middle finger mantras and the community that we've built is every single guy is dedicated to his own personal journey and his growth. And he's doing it from a place of going inward, which is the most difficult journey. Yeah. And as a result, everyone has each other's respect. And there's an appreciation for your medicine and what makes you special, not why are you different and why are you not good enough.
Got it.
Like if I think about my life and who I surrounded myself with until middle finger mantras, it was a bunch of copy and paste of me.
Interesting.
Like, well, of course I was fucking stagnant.
Yeah.
It was groupthink. It was a
Yeah.
bunch of dudes who were wearing the same fucking clothes, trying to look the same, trying to talk the same,
Vibe creates your tribe.
trying to go after the same women. And it's just like, I was competing the entire time.
Yeah.
And now it's like, hey, dude, Norman, you have a completely different life story than me. And you've also hit a different level of financial success. And you also approach life differently. And you also have different life experiences and satisfactions and things that you are able to that come innately or like are innate
Yeah.
to you or that come natural.
Yeah.
Like, what a beautiful thing for me to spend time with you and be able to
Amen.
well around myself instead of go to sit across from the table and talk to someone who's exactly like me.
Yeah. Well, it's comfortable. I feel like anyone who's listening, viewing out there, it's easier to be around someone that you can identify with because that's who you are. Like you said, just a copy of what is, which is yourself, and like your vibe creates your tribe. So it's easy to have this reflection. And if it wasn't for the journey that you were on, the journey that I was on, and for both of us to be at State 48 Foundation, we would have never connected as we did. And there was a reason to, because the contrast is the beauty in life, so we can be able to understand like different perspectives to be able to grow into this beautiful evolution of self, if you will.
Yeah, I'm curious. Have you done like a lot of psychological study or like interest in shadow work?
Yeah.
I find that fascinating because it's like self-acceptance and self-love is part of the reason why you and I are able to interact.
Amen.
And have appreciation for each other.
Amen.
Versus, oh, that guy's fucking weird. He's not anything like me. It's like that's all the things that I hate about myself that are being exposed as a mirror.
Yeah.
But because we've done the work, we can go, damn, dude, I love the fact that you show up with Gucci and you're decked out and you got a blue mohawk and like you're just you.
You
and
have
like,
to be.
But like you're one of one.
Yeah.
Like that's fucking awesome versus a copy and paste dude of like he looks just like everyone else that's in his friend group.
Amen. 100%. And that's what my whole thing was. It's just like, how can I be undeniably me and do something that's different? And also, Jake and I talked about in our episode is like the challenge. Like, I love to be challenged. And the way that I challenge myself and other people is I do shit that's not normal. The fucking blue mohawk, maybe it'll be pink next time. The fucking toned toenails, like just doing things like, this one guy was in a lifted truck and I had the fucking rainbow on underneath my GTR and shit. Here's who I am. Fucking finger me out the window and shit. I'm like, okay, dude, you give me the fucking finger, bro. I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? I got a hot ass wife at home. I got a fucking daughter. You know what I'm saying? I'm straight. I know my manhood, but I want to be on the line because you have the non-binary terms, right? And all these things that are shifting and changing. And so it's like, how can you just do something that's different and give people a different perspective for them to be like, whoa, interesting, never thought about it like that. And that's how we got here today. And I just want to do whatever I can to just show up and serve and support and give people different perspectives because ever since forever, like working for the man, keep your head down, just fucking do your job. I'm like, what the fuck? And like, no one's seen you as an asset. I'm like, I want to be my own fucking asset. I'm not going to go and just like, sure, whatever, just fucking, I'll just do my job and I'll just get my white picket fence and fucking have my wife and have my little dog and just, no, like I want to do something different. And so, I feel like we're both in the same point of like, let's set a different expectation for the future of the existence that's up and coming, the kids out there and what have you. And that's why this podcast I wanted to do, because I want to reach out to the younger youth. And, Jake's 22 and his friends and fucking whoever else is watching who's in high school about to graduate, whatever else, and be like, oh shit, like, okay, here's some new up and coming models that I could like relate to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's time that we start doing things differently as men. It's proven not to fucking work. So you can be insane and try to keep doing the same shit or like look at the people that have followed the model that you want and be like, yeah, I'm going to do the same thing even though I don't want that.
Yeah.
Or you can step into the unknown and say, there's something different that I can do and I desire more.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So if someone wanted to be a part of your group and go through the process, like how do you start it out? How does the conversation even start? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I do want to make the distinction because I know you and I briefly connected before the podcast.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck if people join mantras.
I love it.
I just want them to start leaning into masculinity 2.0 and a different way of being and showing up in the world and like identifying the ways that collectively we are wounded.
Yeah.
And I also think that mantras is a fantastic place for a lot of men to go do that.
Yeah.
But we are based out of Phoenix, Arizona right now. So if you're in a different state. It's tough to be in the energy and in person, which is where really the magic happens.
Yeah.
But needless to say, the process really starts out by like me getting to know them and like where they're at and what they need. So that going back to the whole evolution of this thing, because of the awareness around the stoicism and people numbing,
Yeah.
we had a progression, especially with retreats, where we were doing our best to create opportunities for men to be physical, mindful, and vulnerable.
Love it.
This is like men's groups have existed since the beginning.
Of course. Yeah.
The difference is that a lot of them will say they're going to stick a bunch of random guys into a room that don't know each other and say, talk about your feelings. And everyone's going to go, I'm fucking awesome. How are you?
I can see that.
Right. And so there's a wall up. And
Yeah.
so we took a different approach in saying, okay, if we understand that men are struggling to feel, and if we can create physical safety, then that will translate into emotional safety. And so when we did physical, mindful, and vulnerable things, it was let's box, but let's box in a conscious manner to where you and I are agreeing to the pace in which we box at.
Interesting.
Let's go shoot guns together. Let's go roll jujitsu. And if you and I can engage through a mutual shared experience of suffering, then we build respect and comfort and trust. And then when we move into the mindful and vulnerable stuff, then that opens up the ability for people to actually let their guard down and really start to connect.
Interesting.
Now, that was awesome. And I still think that model works. And I also think it's not exactly what I was looking for.
Okay.
There was a lot of guys who purely showed up because they wanted to have fun time and they wanted to swing a big dick. And it's like, cool. I don't have any issue with that. It's just that's not what I'm looking for.
Got it.
I'm looking for dudes that will hold me accountable, will inspire me, that are on this mindfulness journey, that are constantly going inward, trying to figure out what parts of themselves that they're rejecting, what patterns are exposing, what wounding is driving their behavior. And so we shifted away from that and started describing it more as it's a brotherhood built on the foundation of depth of conversation and connection.
Got it.
And so that was really the next phase where we started book club. And that's been the most beautiful, the best thing that we've done for this movement.
I love it.
And so every Tuesday we meet in Old Town Scottsdale and we have conversation, but the conversation is anchored by the topics of the book that we're reading. So we started out with A Happy Pocket Full of Money. If you have not heard of that book, buy it, read it. Fantastic book. For like any really good book, the first 3 or 4 chapters are going to be slow. The next book that we read was Byron Katie, Loving What Is, The Work, The Magic 4 Questions. And that was a way to improve mindfulness and understand that it is not good nor bad. It is the meaning that we associate or give to something.
Amen.
And then we just read A Changed Mind by David Baer, which is the best book I've ever read. Most impactful.
Love it.
And has created a lot of shifts for guys in their experiences. And so that's kind of where we're at right now.
Wow.
And then, we had the retreat, which was not open. Like we're not doing like posting on social media, Eventbrite, like come if you want. It's like, this is word of mouth shit. Like what we've built is something very tight and special. And it requires you to have a connection to someone that is in the group in order to get an invite.
I love that.
And you're not showing up to the retreat as a random. Like the retreat is a celebration for the work that we've put in and an intensive to integrate exactly what we've been covering since April of the club. So that was the 14 guys that came. And now I struggle with, how to describe it because it's evolved again.
Yeah.
Especially over the weekend. It's hit a new level. The love that these guys have for each other and the way that they're able to raise their hand and ask for help and the way that they're able to support each other is truly touching and it's incredible because I set this up as the organizer and I feel like I got the most out of it.
Wow.
The amount of processing and the amount of aha moments that I had and breakthroughs or liftoffs that I had over the weekend was like it was I'm like I said I'm overflowing with gratitude and awe.
Wow, I love that. Let's give a round of applause for that liftoff. And I'm very grateful and thankful to be with the organizer, if you will, founder, owner, what have you. And I love that, man. And I think that from my understanding, and I'm going to take this from the perspective of business, right? So whatever accolades. 10 years in, 16,000 agents have met. I've transacted with 7,000, almost 250 agents in 17 states with about team of 17, 1.5 mil this year's the goal. And it's how do you take what you've learned, because it sounds like you're going through a process of self-development through these men and through what you put together to get to a place of understanding to then be able to structure and organize it in a manner where, like, the first question came to me, if I'm new coming in, do I have to read those books to get up to par to be where you are currently?
Got it.
That's the first question that came up for me.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's just like, if it's not online and it's only word of mouth, then where is it online where it could be private, that only this link or QR or whatever could be shared within the men that do have a connection, which we connected, State 48 Foundation, to then get to this place in time. So then it could turn into something so much more, almost like a living organism.
For sure.
And that's what I'm doing in a corporate sense with Liftoff Agent. It's like creating an organization where it's not about numbers, it's about the people. And so if you put people first, then everything will then, it'll then heal, manage, whatever.
Yep.
So our team, what's your vision? What's your goal? Our clients, what's your vision? What's your goal? Okay, are we starting you? Are you ramping? Are you scaling up with us? Okay, well then, hey team, if you want to hit your goal, then our clients need to hit their goals. And in turn, then the company will hit the $300 million exit in 8 years at 15,000 agents by default, because of the fact that we're giving back to the clients first and serving them. Like, we just closed Channel Junkies, which is a huge, the guy's probably bringing in, I don't even know, at least quarter to maybe $500,000 a month. The guy's like next level. I literally just bought this Vibe TV and he made me spend like fucking $3,500 right before the show, dude. He's like, I got a link for you, bro, and this and that. And I want to solidify our relationship, right? So he spent $5,000 with us. I spent $3,500 on TV. He got a $500 kickback credit. He was ecstatic. I was ecstatic. So I'm just like, hey, let's just solidify that relationship, and go deeper. So that's what I'm curious for you. And I would love to have you back on as this evolves. I'm sure people are going to reach out to you. They're going to DM, links down below, go follow Ryan. And that's where I'm curious to see how it evolves and where it moves to. So that way you can have a little bit of a standard operating procedure and processes. Cause I think the biggest thing that I've learned when you go through the woo, the woo woo, we talked a little about this with Nico. And so when you are at a point in life where you're like, you just are, it just is, you're self-developed to a place where it's so easy just to kind of be like, oh, look at that butterfly. Oh, it's just a beautiful day. And Jake and I have talked about this. And I'm like, dude, you got to fucking live and die by the calendar. And you have to set up systems and processes to get to a point of interest. So then you can have a standard operating procedure. And then you can go fucking woo-woo, have fun, travel, whatever. But you have to have some type of point of organization, because we still are in a third dimension physical state of being. We're not in a fourth or fifth dimension yet. Right? And so that's where I feel like, the breakthroughs and the moments are amazing, but then it's just like, how do you organize in a sense where then you still have that, but then you have the standard procedures so you can scale and grow.
Yeah, well, and I'd like to provide a potentially different perspective while also answering the question.
I love it.
Of growing and scaling. So let me. Which way should I go first? Well, here's a different perspective.
Take a
bath. Here's the alternative perspective. We only perceive the 3D. We're still in the 5D.
Ooh.
It just our five senses can only pick up the 3D. That doesn't mean that the 5D doesn't exist and it's not here.
True.
Right. So that's where the metaphysical and why the woo woo is powerful, but it's not the only thing that can be relied on. There's a balance. But in regards to the growth of mantras and being able to give more men access, kind of like it doesn't feel great to say it, but it's my truth and it's really what I feel.
Yeah.
I don't really fucking care about growing it and getting more guys.
I love it.
Like the 14 guys that were with us for the retreat are my fucking brothers, and like this is for them, and I'm not compromising or trying to scale it or monetize it or something. Like it's about these 14 guys that are doing life with me on a daily and weekly basis, that are going inward and going like into war with themselves, that I care about because I built something that has attracted me best friends. And so I don't care about do I want it to scale? For sure. Do I want more men to have resources like this? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm not willing to compromise what we built so far, which is why it's word of mouth.
Interesting.
There's guys
Love
who
it.
reach out to me all the time, and like, I don't tell them no.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not giving them reminders of like, hey, book club Tuesday, show up here. This is what these are
Yeah.
the other things that we're doing. Like, we're talking about going and skydiving here soon.
Let's go.
Right? Finding edges of stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing like casual hangouts, right? So it's not just so like deep conversation.
Okay.
Right. Retreats. Like,
Yeah.
that wasn't open to the public. The only thing that's really open to the public is book club. And if if you're a motherfucker that's such like a demeaning word now that I say that out loud.
You're good.
Yeah, if you're a fucking dude who like is willing to read a book, sacrifice his time and then come and talk about it, then we have something to talk about.
I love it.
Regarding going and having fun and like doing some more in-depth stuff. But if you're not willing to show up to book club, like, I can't help you right now.
I love that. And I love your answer, and I love the feedback and the transparency, and also the contrast, because you just gave me a different perspective that I didn't see in that way, which then just adds another opportunity for me to see different. So I appreciate the way that you handled it. And I also do believe, and I want to challenge you back, is that just, it's not so much monetizing. It's just so you could pay the bills, and you could, and you could say, fuck it. You build it out to fucking monetize, and you give all the fucking money back, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It goes to Africa for fucking whoever cares. Yeah. I'm just saying that, like, and that doesn't have to compromise the opportunity of scaling it to be able to make something from it, so you can, like, pay the bills, do your things, whatever. But yeah, I love that, dude. I love that. And at the end of the day, that's where the magic happens. I hear so many people that are like on social media, or you have producers from movies to music, and then it's just like, they just listen. It just is. And then all this like amazing greatness comes in, and then it just evolves into something beautiful. And that's been one of my issues, is like, hey, you don't need to be so rigid in a sense where, SOPs, KPIs, all the things. You could just be a little bit more free with it. And that's something has been coming up for me in the past, I don't know, 6 months to a year, to a point now where I call it like life by design, and being able to just flow through everything that you do. And it doesn't need to be rigid. Yeah. And I could go take a demo and, close this business and go off and have a podcast with you. And it's beautiful because the people in the Philippines we serve, and they're just doing so many amazing things for their family, for their friends. And we're changing the game in so many ways for their life, as far as remodeling of their parents' house, and getting a driver's license, and getting a car, and all the things, which is so beautiful, that I feel like the monetary way of existence that the third dimension has is also cool, because there are some things that you could do, whether it's driving a fucking supercar, jumping out of a plane. Shit ain't free. You got to pay for it. So,
No, I love that. And so what I would say is, to give a little bit more context, the two main pain points of the men that are in the community right now are finances and relationships, right? And so, like, I know where almost every single one of those guys are at financially.
Okay.
I know how much debt they have. I know how much they're making. Yeah. And I'm like, these are my brothers.
I love
it. I can't get myself to try to monetize these guys. And there was a phase where we did try to monetize a little bit. And let me be very clear: making money is not bad. Money is not the root of all evil. Money is an amplifier.
Amen.
You can do more. If you are a good person, you will become a better person with more money. If you are a piece of shit, you will become a bigger piece of shit with more money. Now, what I'm saying is, there's a different route that we're going down, which is one of the synchronicities and things that's coming up, which is we're starting a merch line. And so we're bringing mindfulness to conscious clothing.
I love it.
So that men have the ability to, the men that are associated with this movement. Yeah. This is a movement. Yeah. This is not an organization. This is an organism.
I like it.
This requires some care, some love, and some attention in order for it to continue growing and being all that it can. And that's part of the reason why I'm like, I'm not really interested in monetizing monetizing from a merch line. But like, before, we were charging, money for shooting. We were charging money for, like, dude, I charge these guys between $100 and $300 for a life-changing retreat.
Interesting.
It's not about making money. Yeah. I'm just trying to break even and stay afloat, so that and when what's happening is the shifts that these guys are experiencing, including myself, are so profound that they're starting to attract people that go, dude, what are you on? You are different. And one of the guys was working out at a mutual at the high level man hang that Nico does over at James's place. Yeah. And this dude comes up to him and goes, I've worked out with a lot of dudes. You are on a different level. Like, wow. What are you taking? He goes, God and book club. You should come.
Wow.
Next thing you know, he started coming to book club. He was a great fit. he was able to join us for the retreat and had quite a few breakthroughs.
Amazing.
Right. So it's like we can run ads, we can do social media, like, and we do a little bit of social media.
Yeah.
But like the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
Like the energetics of who we're turning into and the people that take notice is I think something that can never be taken away. We can't be shadow banned, and that's where most of the movement comes from, because
I love that.
and like when I talk about it, it's like, well, yeah, of course you're a fucking advocate for it. It's your organization. Like, all right, cool, whatever. But like when other guys that are a part of it are like God in book club, and let me be clear, we're agnostic, and we also have some atheists in the group, so it doesn't matter what you believe.
Yeah.
That's truly what we're leaning into, as far as like we are the product of the product. People will notice by how we show up, and the merch line is going to be able to help identify people who I fuck with. Like, oh,
love
dude, that's a mantra shirt. Like, and we have some cool stuff tackle or like plan for that. But
That's sick, dude.
as I was talking about the evolution of this,
Yeah.
I started to like brainstorm some stuff, and I have some.
I love
notes
it.
While
Let's
I was
go.
while I was taking a shit on September 4th at 6:22 a.m.
Let's go.
And I haven't proofread this, so
It's
but
good.
Mantras is a community full of men that are tired of jamming their square pegs into round holes. Through the conditioning of life, we have adopted the belief that we are not worthy, enough, or lovable. We found it exhausting to fit the mold that someone else made for us, so we made from a mold for ourselves. This movement of men is special because when a man joins our brotherhood, they get to tell us what the shape of their mold is and then fit into that as best as they can. We acknowledge each man for the unique gifts they have and love them for it instead of rejecting them for their imperfections. Every guy in our group is one of one, and the main thing we have in common is a dedication to getting to know self better through a journey of mindfulness.
Huge. Powerful, bro. I fucking love that shit. Had a lift off moment, taking a shit right in your mission statement, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be fucking levitating here pretty soon.
Yeah. No, I think that, going deeper, I want to make this one comment. Of course, you can give commentary on it, and then I want to ask you a question about your breakthrough, one of your breakthroughs, and what it looks like for our members and guests. And I feel like what's happening is people are starting to wake up, and they're starting to be like, "Whoa, what's going on here?
Yep.
What's going on with the government? What's going on with this fear? What's going on with phones and categorizing everything, and everyone being separate?" When at the end of the day, all we're trying to get to source, which is all and everything.
Yep.
God is just it. It's it.
Yep.
Everything. And so it's very interesting. And if we were to go deeper into giving some construct, give us a specific like story for a breakthrough for someone who's listening that can relate to it, because I know not everything is easily explained. Some stuff it just is, and it's a feeling, and you just have it, and you just get to this different place, like your buddy who was just like working out, and then the guy comes up and it's just like, what the fuck are you on? Like, it's hard to explain, but God and book club. So what would you say was maybe a tangible story you can give our viewers and listeners as a breakthrough that you had with your men?
That's such a good question, and I think it presents itself differently, but there's a analogy, there's a allegory that we can kind of use, and it would be when I numb myself from experiencing, if we're going to say that life is on a scale of 1 to 10, and yes, we could summarize and say life right now is just a 7, but on a moment by moment basis, we kind of are moving on that sliding scale.
Got it.
And if I numb myself from the 1s, 2s, and 3s and 4s, then I'm also avoiding my ability to experience the 10s, 9s, 8s, and 7s. And so that numbing is just staying right in the middle where there's really nothing. There's no emotional charge.
Got it.
And the willingness and the ability to handle the lower end of the spectrum is what opens up the higher end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And as men, we really struggle, especially the guys in our group. We've really worked on it, of acknowledging self, acknowledging wins, receiving compliments. And so it was to the point where like we would reject the 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s, right? And so like opening up to actually feeling is such an important part, and part of what actually experiencing this experience is all about. So a little bit more of like a concrete example is, and this is the beauty of the brotherhood that we've built, but one of the guys started to realize, hey, like my entire life, everything has been external validation.
Mm.
The reason I work out is so I look better. Not because I want to work out. I would go and seek attention from females. I would go and try to make more money. I would go X, Y, and Z. And so he started this 90-day container
Interesting.
of him saying like, fuck everything external. I'm going internal 100%. I'm not engaging with women. I'm not masturbating. I'm not self-soothing in any coping way.
Yeah.
I am living life, and I am regulating through my mindfulness practice. I am using breath, I am using prayer, I am using journaling, I am using X, Y, and Z to help me navigate life.
Love that.
And he has turned from a high octane race car who was fucking impressive before
Wow.
to an absolute powerhouse power plant
Jeez
where
Louise.
it does not matter. Like,
Wow.
he doesn't have to fill up his tank. He never's
Yeah.
running on fumes. That motherfucker generates his own source of energy. And I think that's what was really important for me is and this was back when I was masturbating 3 or 4 times a day. And I go, all right, dude, I'm ready to join you.
Wow.
And so for me, it was removing tobacco, marijuana, masturbation, porn, and really choosing self.
Interesting.
Choosing self meaning when I told myself I was going to do something, I did it. I prioritized myself before other people. So I told myself I was going to wake up and meditate 20 minutes in the morning, go and journal, and then mindful movement, ice plunge, boom, I did it. And when I removed the self-soothing mechanisms of tobacco, marijuana, and jerking off, all of a sudden life started to really start to work out.
Wow. That's amazing, man. That's amazing. A definite liftoff moment, and for your friend to you, and I love the power plant type thought process, and I like the idea and the concept of like there was someone that said something like this yesterday on I want to say a short. And he was on Real Estate First Technology. He's a real estate professional, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head. And he said something about how if you get up and you are a high achieving individual and there's just not a lot of gas in the tank, right? Like you said, your friend just always fucking just energized. It's the discipline that gets you through the day. And you know what came up for me and what connected the dots, what you just said? When you are in your true, authentic, you could say lane, and you're that power plant, there is no, I don't have gas in the tank and I need to have this structured fucking discipline to get through the day. Because if you're not in alignment, which he is and which you are and which I believe I am as well, when you're in that alignment, the energy and everything else just comes. And one thing that I was blessed with was the idea and the ideology of like, if I'm blessed with the amount of energy that I have, because I had a friend of mine, he's a union pipe fitter, and he stayed with us, our very first Airbnb guest. And now he moved his whole family out. And his wife is like, does that guy really fucking work all day long in that office and have that much fucking energy and keep doing what he's doing every single Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And so it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I've learned that if I'm blessed with this much energy, it is my obligation and duty to the universe, to God, to whatever you want to call it, to then give it back as a transfer to be able to help all of us have more energy.
100%. I love that.
And that's how I feel about kind of what you said, tying it into that post and tying it into my own life.
Yeah.
So I really
It's
appreciate that.
It's amazing that you have the perspective of wanting to provide to the collective.
Well, yeah.
To improve other people, not just me, take. Right, to be able to give back is really the next level, but it's really only achievable, once the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is met.
Yeah.
So you're no longer surviving, you're thriving, and you want other people to experience this bliss too, which
Amen.
is beautiful.
Amen. And that's what it is. I just want to magnify everything with so much intensity to be able to give back in so many different ways, to be able to showcase people that like life by design. Let's create it. What does it look like? What do you want to do?
Yep.
What's your journey? What's your goal? If you're not in control and you don't know what you want, you're being controlled.
Yep.
You're just a part of the system and a part of fucking what is already lined out.
Yep.
For you just to be like, all right, I'll just follow the fucking yellow brick road. It's already lined out for me. But no, why?
Yeah. You're following someone else's script.
Yeah.
And then that's why I think the way that you described it's really good too. And I would add just a little bit of a different hue to it, which is when I love and care for myself, which kind of sounds weird. Like the first time I heard that, I was like, yeah, of course I love myself.
Yeah.
And then my coach was like, "Do you really love yourself?" And I think the best way to actually separate and actually analyze if you love yourself is approach it as if it was a marriage, right?
Yeah.
Wake up in the morning. What's the first thing you do? For me, it was go smoke a joint. What's the first? What does it look like falling asleep? Oh, you're literally looking at your phone until it fucking falls on your face to wake you up. Like, dude, if I had a wife,
Yeah.
that's the way that I'm treating myself. It's like, oh, I'm not rolling over in bed and hugging her and kissing her and saying good morning and spending time with her and being present with her. Like, and this is a Nico quote. Like, if you want to like develop time and a relationship with your best friend, like you have to spend time with them. You want to get to know self, you want to love yourself, you have to spend time with yourself. And a lot of us are in the cycle of running away from self and abandoning self because we put the focus external.
Yeah.
Right. And so whether it's alignment of path or whether it's choosing self or whether it's whatever you want to fucking label it as.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of energy that happens when you are authentic to yourself and you choose yourself first.
Amen.
Self-sacrifice is not noble.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
I 100% agree. And I think that a lot of people out there, and if this is you, might not even quite understand the concept of what that even looks like.
Yep.
Like, how do I even take care of myself, or how do I even love thyself? And I'm just gonna put it out there because he's in the room, and I love this fucking guy. You know, Jake was just going through divorce, and you'd watch the podcast that he was on. Should be live by now, and he was like, "Man, I just never not slept with anybody. I've always been with someone."
Yeah.
And so, you know, Jake had to go inside himself and figure out what that looks like, and how to love thyself, and how to, you know,
I
just
still struggle with that.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, we you know, that's a part of life, part of the journey.
You still struggle with it and you will struggle with it. There's levels to that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lifelong journey for sure.
Oh, agreed. 100%. Yeah. I think the best thing I could say for advice anyone out there is gratitude. Wake up with
100%.
gratitude.
Yep.
Hey, you have a toothbrush? You have some toothpaste? Congratulations. You got running water and a toilet. Like, there's people that don't even have that,
Yep.
let alone your bed and the fan and your cell phone and, you know, whatever, a car. Yeah, computer, TVs.
And I understand because we've actually had some posts that we had around abundance and mindset and stuff. And people would be like, "Oh yeah, money because I need to pay my bills," and it's like I can feel where that person's coming from, and I understand how difficult it is to be grateful when everything around you is falling apart.
Yes.
It's required because if we look at the actual like neuroscience of what's going on, like gratitude and priming yourself and putting that into your reticular activating system is helping you with finding other opportunities to be grateful and opportunities to advance in life rather than continue living the shit existence that you feel like you're in right now.
Amen.
Right? So it's difficult. It's not easy, and none of this is easy. Actually,
No.
this is the path of most resistance.
Yeah.
Going inward is the most difficult journey that you will ever go on, and that's the reason why the guys in our group fucking love each other and respect each other, because everyone's choosing the path that's most difficult. It's fucking easy to just go buy an ounce of weed and just smoke your pain away. It's fucking easy.
Yep. Shrooms,
Yeah.
Molly.
Now I will say.
Yeah, wait, shrooms?
Now I will say that I don't believe that some substances are bad, except for maybe fentanyl and other hardcore street drugs. But
Yeah.
used with intention, they are very, very powerful.
I love that.
And psilocybin mushrooms have been a huge addition and facilitator in my experience. They've brought me medicine that I needed, not wanted. And then also as just to like tie it all together with the loving self, I recently had an MDMA experience 2 weeks ago that really opened up a new level for me.
Wow.
I would say like the way that you were describing like your experiences in connecting dots, like the way that I would have described it is like if I was looking up at the sky and like there was a bunch of stars and the stars were memories. If I didn't understand the constellations of like, oh, that's a Big Dipper, and so like I know the imaginary line there and all that stuff. It was like it went boop, put them together and said, you get the connection now? Okay, cool. Now we'll put them back to where they were.
Wow.
And so the part of loving self that I really realized from my MDMA experience, which was my first one ever, by the way, was that growing up as a kid, I was never justified in feeling what I was feeling. And so my reaction and the way that I was programmed and the way that I navigated through life was to justify and make sense of everything.
Yeah.
And the main memory that came up through that was when I was 4 years old, I had a birthday party, and one of my friends was a little bit eager to get some of the cake. And so she took her fingers through the middle of fucking cake and got a bunch of icing before everyone sang me happy birthday, before I blew out the candles, and I was fucking wrecked, bro. I was so upset. I was like, my week was ruined. And and we haven't known each other that long, but I wear my heart on my sleeve, and like I know how just set into upset I was, and the reaction like no ill will towards my mom. Like I love my mom to death. She was a fantastic mother.
Yeah.
It was very innocent.
Yeah.
But she was like, it's comical seeing a 4-year-old that's upset because of a fucking cake.
Of course.
And so she was kind of chuckling, and she's like, honey, it's okay. Like, so everyone's still going to sing you happy birthday. You're still going to get to blow out your candles. It's still going to taste fine. Right. But like that openness and that receptivity of like, no, what you're feeling is not valid was how I navigated the rest of my life.
Wow.
And so loving self going forward is I have an alarm every hour and a half on my phone, and I'm on do not disturb, so it probably won't go off.
Yeah.
But every hour and a half, my phone goes off and says, check in with your body. And that's an intentional way for me to, sorry, say it again.
I do the exact fucking same thing. Mine is I do like deep breathing for like 5 minutes, and I like take in all the stuff that I'm grateful for in my life.
Amazing, dude.
I love that.
So that's choosing self, right? That's loving self. And for me, I said, okay, growing up, I was never given space to feel my feelings. Cool. But now I'm 31 years old, and I have the ability to parent my inner child.
Yes.
And so every hour and a half, I check in and make sure that I give attention to that little Ryan and give him the ability to feel what he's feeling, and honor him for that. Right. And so that's just another example of self-love. But
Wow.
and also as a segue to say, or not a segue, as a data point to say, like, substances are just tools. And and if they're treated with reverence and they're treated with intentionality, they can support a lot. But I would say, like, recreationally and haphazardly and not having strong guidance with it is a very slippery slope.
100%. And I want to do something. Here's a call to action moment for our viewers and listeners out there. If you are going through something, you're feeling something, you're not feeling heard, and you don't feel like you're being validated, I want you to send me a direct DM at Mr. Liftoff and send me a voice memo, video, or potentially just text. Also, Ryan, if you're open to this, like, I want to hear from you, and I want you to tell me, or Ryan, if you're open to this, what's coming up, emotions, feelings, what have you, because I feel like, I want to make this more interactive, and it's not like, hey, buy this, join your fucking group or anything. It's just like, hey, you're listening to this, it's for a reason. Yeah. And if you just want to get it out there, like, I'm willing to listen.
Yeah. Throw us in a group chat.
Ooh.
Friend request me.
I like that.
And then send that voice note to both. You and I
got you. Yeah. So send at Mr. Liftoff, and then I'll connect us, and then we can all, just tell us what's going on, and then we'll give you some feedback, or we'll do whatever we can just to even just listen.
And we'll hold. This is a whole new level, but we will honor you in your process.
I like that.
It's not my journey. It's not my job to walk your path.
Nope.
But I will help you with understanding and finding clarity, and feeling justified in the way that you're feeling, because it is justified, which might be a good segue into some of the other things that men are facing these days.
Let's go for it.
Suicide.
Huge.
It's a viable solution.
Yeah. It's a way out.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with thinking it. Matter of fact, I would say that if you don't think it, you're an anomaly. Right. And so I would say that, have you ever thought about suicide? Not necessarily planned it, but been like, man, like, this would just be fucking easier if I wasn't here.
It would have to be like very, very like fleeing. Nothing like, definitely not planning it. But I'm just trying to think if that's ever came up to the point where I'm like, I was more on the opposite side. I was on like the side of like, why the fuck am I here? And I had like a crazy nervous breakdown, like 22.
Yeah.
It took me about a year to get back on track.
Cool.
And that was more like, whoa. And then I have like a throat fucking issue with swallowing and some other shit. So like, I'm like afraid of like, I'm gonna fucking choke to death and shit like that. But I can't really think of how much I've actually had that thought.
Jake, what about you? Hell yeah.
Yeah, well, you told me fucking last week, dude. last week.
Fucking
Yeah.
last night, probably a little. It just
Yeah.
comes up, you know. It comes
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Jake. Like I know it's an uncomfortable emotion and thing that you're feeling. And I can tell that because you chuckle, and that's a way that we
That's how I
ease.
cope.
Yeah, right. It's
Yeah.
that's like a telltale sign.
And Jake's fucking dude. He's an anomaly. He's fucking a force to be reckoned with. Dude.
Yeah.
He just
Open book.
he's
I
so
like
powerful, but
crazy
he's
life story.
on medication and a lot of shit that like takes him down a notch. And I'm like, dude, if you were to fucking unleash and go deep in self, like he would be fucking like,
It's hard for me to have opportunity to do that, like where I'm at in my life right now. Like I am living with my best friend in his spare room on an air mattress, have been for the last 2 months. In October I'm probably gonna go get a room with some random guy that I don't even know.
Mm.
Like I'm just at this weird spot in my life, and I used to be heavy into self-development, and I don't know if you're familiar with what magic is, but it's a form of spiritual practice that's like Christianity, Buddhism, but I'm agnostic as well. And yeah, I was super into meditation and taking care of myself and all this shit, and you know, life falls apart. You know?
Yeah,
Here
and
we are.
yeah, and there's never a convenient time to choose self.
yeah,
You know.
It always feels impossible.
Yeah, it does. And you're where you're at in your process, and I've been there, and so I know that it's something that you have to choose, and and the tipping point hasn't been reached yet, which is okay. But yeah, I think the one of the big lessons that I've learned through connecting, and let me be clear, we have way more than 14 guys in our community.
okay,
I'd say there's probably 35 active and
Okay.
like over 100 who have participated.
amazing.
There just happened to be 14 that chose to sacrifice Labor Day weekend and
Yeah.
go inward.
And go deeper for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. That didn't already have plans.
You've ever had in your group, like as an active member.
Youngest person.
I think he's 23. He was at the State 48 Foundation.
So Jake might be the youngest.
I know, I was like, I
Yeah.
might have to set
20
the record.
Yeah.
22, dude.
I mean, dude, you're welcome. I
I'd
love.
say I'm right at that tipping point. To
Yeah.
Be honest with you, so.
Cool. I mean, and there's no pressure. Like we're gonna be doing our shit regardless. Like we'll
Yeah.
be here whenever you want it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's to round out the point, because I've been there. I've looked at it. I mean, I have a fucking pistol on me at all times.
Yeah.
I have a lot of our guys in our group too.
Mm.
There's been a lot of dudes who are like, I was moments away. You know, where it's just like it's accessible, it's easy,
Mm.
it's painless,
Yeah.
and it just makes sense. And
Mm.
what we've learned is that it really only starts to turn into a problem when we start shaming and guilting ourselves for having that thought.
Mm.
The narrative of what's fucking wrong with me? I can't believe that. That's so fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
right? It's like, no, let's just honor you for where you're at. Like, you have no money. Your parents don't have the ability to support you. You don't know where you're gonna live. Your girlfriend just broke up with you and called you a fucking loser. You have no idea what you're going to do to get yourself out of the situation. And so it makes more sense to just say, what if I didn't have to deal with it? It's fucking real.
Yeah. I agreed.
Now, I will tell you, go another 24 hours. But like the thought of suicide is not fucked up.
Yeah.
And I think that the more that we can talk about that and make people feel understood and justified for the suffering and the grief that they're going through is going to help the collective and men specifically with what they're experiencing.
Yeah.
There's
100%.
There is nothing more demoralizing than suffering and for people to not honor you or justify you in that experience.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that really helps explain a lot of the athletes and actors that commit suicide. How the fuck could you be you're living the dream life?
But are they?
Suffering is does not have favorites.
No, not at all. And
No.
a lot of these actors and shit, like they have to play so many different characters. It's like, who the fuck are they?
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, I almost feel like,
Yeah. And I guarantee you they're having a hard time choosing self and loving self as well.
yeah.
And then they achieve the goal. I was just with a buddy today. He has a fucking world record.
Wow.
He goes, I got the world record and I still wasn't happy.
Mm.
And I go, yeah. I mean, think about all the guys who made $1 billion, still wasn't happy. Made the Hall of Fame, still wasn't happy.
Yep.
It's like it's a fleeting thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're in pursuit of that, and then we demonize someone else for feeling shame or guilt or unhappy because they have it all, That's why people fucking take their lives.
Yeah.
So
Very true. Very true.
Go another 24 and find some dudes who can actually like hold space and like love you.
Yeah.
And help you choose self.
Yeah.
Because doing this alone is too difficult.
Yeah. And I will say, like, a couple things that come up for me is like, even though I have what I have, and I'm very grateful for every single thing, there are times where like thoughts come in and I'm just like hard on myself. I'm not doing enough. I could be doing this. Then you're on social media and you're like, oh, this person has a big event, or I could be fucking getting on stages and all the things. So that does come up for me. You know, sometimes going over overpasses, I'm like, what if I just drove off the overpass? So I guess in a different way, I experienced that. And I also think,
That's the suicidal thing he was asking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It is, but it's, you know, just going deeper, thinking about it. It's just a different way of thinking of suicide. And then I feel like, you know, on the gun conversation, like there's a lot of responsibility with that because my father-in-law is big on guns. And then I started getting into them. And then I was like, whoa, like having one, there's almost this feeling of like, it's almost nerve-wracking at first. You're like, oh my God, it's a lot of responsibility because you could take your own life, you could someone else's life. There's all these thoughts that can come up super easily. And then you look at fucking video games, Grand Theft Auto 5 and all that type of shit. And it's just like, oh, well, just die and come right back. Like, no, that's not exactly how it works.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, definitely, I would say that I personally had to develop through, you know, now I have one on the side of my bed, have one in my truck, you know, in the closet. So, you know, I know exactly where you're at with that. And so I guess, yeah, thoughts do come up and you just have to keep moving forward. And you're right. Just go another 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you just have that moment and you have that time where you're like, man, magical moment, breakthrough. And it's just like, whoa, I just went that extra 24 hours, like Ryan said, and it was just magical.
Yep.
I'm on the other side now.
Yep. And it all makes sense after the fact.
Yes.
It never makes sense when you're in the middle of
No.
it. It's fucking so overwhelming. And then
Very
and
much.
then all of a sudden you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel and you go, wow, that all happened for me. That's one of my favorite quotes. And I think that's part of the mindfulness journey is at first I thought life was happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized life was happening for me.
Mm-hmm.
And now life is happening through me.
Mm-hmm. I like the through me.
Right? I am the co-creator
Get out
of
of
my
here, Jake.
experience. I am the co-creator of my experience.
That's fucking badass, dude.
Yeah.
That's super badass. I like that a lot. And it's very powerful because a lot of people do like, oh my God, why did this happen to me? Why did that happen to me? And then you get to the point of why, you know, this is happening for me for a reason. And then you're like, oh, why? And you think about it and you're like, oh, that's why. That's fucking cool.
Well, even your upbringing and your story, dude. Like when you were talking about it, I'm like, what a beautiful perspective. I wonder if he always had that. Was there a period in time where you're like, why me? Why is this happening to me? My life is why does everyone else get to have this and I'm over here?
I was
living
more
in fix and
curious
flip and
George,
garbage
bro.
man.
I was curious George. I was just like,
So it's a
whoa.
powerful antidote. Curiosity is a very powerful
So
antidote.
fucking curious about like I've always been super curious. And like even to today, like, why do you think that way? Why do you like that? Why does that come up for you? Yada yada yada. And so I just that's just been my tonality is just being curious and then just looking at like, you know, you see your family and you're like, man, why? Like I'll give you an example. My mom, she's with Joseph. Joseph and my mom have been together for like 20, my sister's 24. So they've been together like 25, 26 years. And my brother is 13, a 13-year-old brother. They're in California. That's Dominic. And my sister has a kid now, Michaela. She's 24. That's going to be Malachi. And they all live under one roof. And my stepfather got a package from cable company. He used to work at in California. It's what is it called? Comcast. And my mom also works at Comcast as well. Climbing telephone poles. Shout out moms. Very positive, amazing person. She'll be here for my daughter's birthday on the 15th, coming up here in September. And he's just the most, we were just up in Tahoe about 4 weeks ago, her mom's 65th birthday. And he just wanted to stay on the couch, didn't want to get out. He was very much just like, you know, I was like, do you get a cake? No. Okay, well, you can get mom a cake. Okay. Dinner reservations? No. Mom, where do you want to go eat? And he's just very like, oh, we're cooking and this and that, and just so negative about so many things. And I'm just like, Mom, why? She's just so positive and uplifting and all the things. But then she victimizes herself, and then she has codependency children. And my brother, who is in Series Modesto, Casey's 4 years younger than me, so he's like 34. You know, he's in and out of doing, what is it, crystal meth, stuff like that. And it's just like, Why? And I try to talk to my mom. And I try to go through the process. And she sees who I am and what I'm doing and how and all the things. But for some reason, she's just like in this place of being. And it's just like, why? And there's so many people out there in the world that are like that. They're just like so stuck
Mm.
in this modality. And it's just like, maybe this is not their time.
Yeah, yeah. I think the curiosity thing is powerful, but to take that to the next level, when when I start to inquire, there's a lot of different thoughts, and
Hmm.
it's me choosing which thought I want to believe.
Yeah.
So being curious and being open is great, but I'm
Hmm.
now curious as to how you were able to take it and choose a belief in a story that served you versus led you down a path that a lot of your other family's been down.
Oh my God. I had two choices. I was like, hey, I could be a drug addict and go down this, like my dad, no relationship, backyard mechanic, working on cars, losing teeth now because the crystal meth and smoking weed and this and that. My stepmother as well. And then my sister, because my cousin had like 5, 6 kids, adopted 2 of them. Malia, who's on the podcast, she'll be the first episode audio only, and then little Skylar. So they'll be here for Thanksgiving. They were just here about a month ago, and my not Malia, but Lena, my sister's gay, and her partner did my hair for me, and she makes some really good beans too. She's
Mm,
Hispanic, and so her and I are on the same page. She's a teacher as well, like my sister, my wife. So like they're really connected.
mm,
And yeah, I had the choice to go down either roads. And I remember there's this one time with my aunt. I said thank you. I said thank you for like being the breadwinner, putting things in perspective. I really analyzed what you did. You worked at AT&T. You got out of Pittsburgh, Antioch, went to Pleasanton, California, called it Pleasantville, and bought a house, got married, all the things, and then that turned to the worst. She ended up cheating on my uncle, and the guy she cheated on with ended up committing suicide, as we were talking about. Speaking to God, next thing you know, walks into water and he's fucking dead. Found his body. I don't know how long later. But yeah, man, I could have went down that path really easily. I mean, subject to abuse, drugs, alcohol, you name it, man. It was there in front of my face, and for some reason, I don't know what it is. I had a calling to just keep moving forward and keep going down this path, and I can't really pinpoint exactly. I think it was probably middle school, third grade is when I started to like go to Pleasanton, see the differences, and then just was really intrigued by. I look at life as like Grand Theft Auto. It's like a video game,
yeah,
and the win it is like become a billionaire and just give it all back.
yeah,
So fuck it, like just give it all back, you
yeah,
know. And like I'm the type of guy who wants to like just like buy random people cars and shit. I like cars. Like, oh fuck, you need a car? Got a family? All right, here you go. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's
yeah,
what I want to do eventually and shit.
yeah. The
And
more you make, the more you can give.
dude, I can't wait. So,
But I love that because it ties back into what we were talking about before. Your
mm,
antidote was finding gratitude, and it was for your aunt in
mm,
Pleasantville,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
you had the wherewithal and the gratitude, and like actually embodied the gratitude to where
mm,
that's something that served you.
yeah.
And
Interesting.
and interesting enough, you found more things to be grateful for because of it.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And she straight up, she just straight up said, like, Norm, like you've always had the tenacity, you've always had the drive.
Yeah, you had it.
She said you always had it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, thanks, anyways. And I remember I texted her, but I texted some stranger on accident,
Huh.
and because she changed her number or some shit. She's just like, the lady's like, oh my God, you're so sweet, and your aunt's so lucky to have you. And I'm like, oh, thanks so much. Well, have a beautiful day. And yada, yada. Like, my mom's kind of like that. Like, I guess I could probably get this from my mom. Like, you called someone on the phone. It could be Chase, it could be whatever. Like, I always ask people, how's your day?
Mm,
How are you doing?
mm,
Oh my God, thanks for asking, and this and that, and blah, blah, and you just get conversation strike and everything else.
yeah.
Get them completely out of their fucking matrix for a second. But yeah, man, I guess it was just always kind of there. And like you said, life happens for you or to you. And if it happens for you, then you get to the point where it happens through you. It's kind of like where I'm at now. It just happened through me. And I just see the writing on the wall and I'm like, fuck, dude. There's something that I can innovate this fucking this corporate industry, man. Like
Mm,
I could go down in history for innovating a real estate industry.
yeah.
I could be able to show people a fucking corporate model that's like a fucking living organism. This is fucking interesting. I want
Yeah.
to do that shit, dude. Like I can go to schools and motivational speak and give back to our kids and shit eventually. Like let's do that shit.
sure.
Like let's just have houses everywhere and Airbnb them and let one person like just live there full time and they can take care of the property. Like we're doing with our roommate right now. Let's fucking do it. Let's have some fun.
Yeah.
And then I help my wife.
Let's win together.
Fuck yeah, dude.
What a concept.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so many people are just like, no, I don't want to share my place. You're not living here with me. Like Joe and Ash down the street. There's a house for sale. As soon as you leave, you'll see it.
The one on the corner.
That's Ashley.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. She's our agent. She's for our flips. We have 2 on the market right now. And they have 2 rooms sitting dormant. And they're going to sell their houses that are keeping it and just renting out a couple rooms. I'm like, dude, just open up. Share your shit, dude. You can have magical moments and keep your house and all the equity you have instead of being like, oh, I'm just going to ride the equity for the next 2 to 3 years. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Perspective's a powerful thing, man.
So powerful, dude.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. And you can't even, it's like, it doesn't matter. And someone could be listening and watching right now and they're listening to be entertained, but a certain margin of people will be like, oh shit. And they're like, they'll take it and they'll apply it. And they're like, I work out and I do my books, Audible, every day.
Cool.
Book a week. So I'm listening to my book,
fucking
work out. I'm doing both at the same time. And I'm reading, what is it? The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. The 5th time reading the book. And yeah, man, it's like you have the answers and you want to give them to people, but it's like the horse. You can lead it to water, but if it doesn't want to drink, then what can you do?
Nothing.
Sorry, horse, you had to die. I mean, you should just drink that fucking water.
Yeah. Just
What's that, Jake? Nothing.
Do we have like a time cap? I just want to keep you guys on track. It's been an hour 20.
Time cap, 2 hours. Where are we at?
Sweet, hour 20.
Okay, so we're doing pretty good. So tell me, like,
I will have to bounce. We got probably 45 minutes on my end.
45 minutes. I got at 3 o'clock, so I got about 20 minutes.
Cool.
In like 12 minutes, hour 30, so we can like talk for a little bit.
Yeah.
You guys gotta dip.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
I like that. So we got a little bit of your personal life, getting into that a little bit, mainly just playing ball and where you're at, and then getting into, you could say personal, professional. I mean, it's not even professional because the way that you're just going down the road with that. How were your parents? Were they just like, they still together, loving, kind, like traditional parents, or like?
Yeah, I had a very loving, privileged, safe upbringing.
Really?
And that means
Nothing.
That means nothing.
That's so interesting.
Because my nervous system still was traumatized.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had instances and memories of things that trauma's all relative.
Yeah.
Right. And so even though I had a safe, loving, privileged upbringing and I never went without, that doesn't mean that I'm any better off.
Yeah.
It's still my responsibility to go inward, find what is programmed in my subconscious mind, what my beliefs are, and to parent my inner child in order for me to live the life I want to live. But to answer your question, yes.
Interesting.
So I'm 31, so they've been married for 34 years.
Congratulations, parents.
Yeah. Dad's working the full-time 20 hours a week and really has done well for himself. And mom retired a couple years ago. They downsized. We grew up in like North Central Phoenix, and they moved out to the West Valley where they're like in more of a retirement community now.
Nice.
Younger sister who's 27 hit her stride within the last year, and super proud of her. Love her to death. Has really stepped into her authentic self and kind of left the nest. So, I would say, I was very fortunate, and that doesn't mean that I didn't walk away with any scars.
Yeah. It's so interesting, the contrast from like, you had you could say white picket fence and like this perfect existence from the outside looking in, but then realistically, there's a lot of shit that you're going through and you need to work through, and who knows, why, how it just is. And I went through a lot of shit, and I was on the other side, and I seen it the way that I seen it, and it's crazy how those two different lifestyles brought us together in this time, because I believe everything happened, like we talked about, happens for a reason, and all the things that had to happen for us to be sitting here at fucking 2:42 in the afternoon of a Thursday, September 5th, it's magical, dude.
Yeah,
it's fucking magical, man. I love that. Man, we've had so many different breakthrough moments, and I appreciate the conversation as well, to be able to speak a little on my side, because I don't know, like, been on some podcasts more for the Liftoff agent side, but personally, this is my opportunity to start to explore, right? It's that time to start exploring. That's why this podcast is coming to existence. And the Liftoff agent team's going to edit this. So go Liftoff agent team and editors, because they all always get to learn something, at least from the real estate versus technology side, which is great. But now it's like really going to learn some shit now, and it's cool because it's like a casual conversation outside of like head talk content and all this stuff that's so fucking produced.
Yeah.
Not that this won't be produced, of course, to a certain level, but is there anything that like maybe you want to give to the viewers and listeners? Anything that you wanna touch on, or something that comes to you, calls to you, what have you, that maybe you wanna put out there for them? So as we get closer to putting bookends, they can take it, use it, leave it, whatever comes up for you.
Yeah, I've got two things that are coming up.
Okay.
Just as like a little bit of a words of encouragement and to help with the transition away from the way that men have operated, and to provide you with a little bit of inspiration on what we've found liberty through. In order to heal your shit, you must feel your shit, which doesn't mean lose your shit, but it does mean release your shit. Right? So nervous system regulation, whether it's breath work or whether it's energy healing or whether it's working out or whether it's bioenergetics, like your nervous system is very important, and to have that clean and pure and allow the full emotional cycle to complete itself is very important. The second one I would say is go within or go without.
Wow, I love that. Very powerful, very powerful. Yeah, I think that people out there can definitely, and the intention is to take things that you've learned from this podcast and really just, watch it back if you need to. It is kind of deep, and there's lots of different modalities and different directions and things that we talked about, but I think that it's really going to serve a lot of people out there. I probably could have hit the applause. We actually have the rocket sound for Liftoff, but Jake, we forgot to switch up the soundboard when you're already recording. You can't do that shit. But I feel like there's a lot of breakthroughs that you and I had as well. Yeah. And the cool thing is that like we've never had this type of conversation outside of like this environment. Yeah. And it's very powerful to share it with the world, man.
Yeah.
Share a conversation.
This was an honor. I've been looking forward to this since we connected at State 48.
Dude, let's go.
And I just love that you were willing to dive into a little bit more about your story too. Because,
of course,
I came over here because I also wanted to get to know you.
Of course.
So having the opportunity to kind of go back and forth and play a little ping pong here was a true pleasure. And just for appreciation for like, there's so many different ways. There's so many different routes to the destination.
Oh my God.
And that's why it's like, dude, like don't follow anyone else's path.
Wow.
The path is made by walking. And if you want to create your own path, if you want to be authentic to yourself, then it requires you to, take the path, the route that you think is the path, or the way up to the top. And
Amen.
You had a completely different way. And I appreciate that. And I have a better understanding for why you are the way that you are. And it's context, and it's just like, it's beautiful stuff, man. So thank you for sharing.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Cause at the end of the day, there's I don't know, persona, a facade, a person, a personality, whatever online. And people are busy, and to get time like this is invaluable because everyone's 3 seconds, scroll, the this, the that, the car, the gas, the food, everything. And so just to slow down for a second is beautiful. And I'm hoping that, the intention is for anyone who's viewing, listening, is to slow down. Because I feel like the beauty is in slowing down. Yep. And when I was up north in Overgarden, to leave with a really cool story, we have some beautiful individuals in our lives. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law, and they're alcoholic. I don't want to say alcoholics, but I'll say they like to drink.
They're functional alcoholics.
Correct.
Functioning alcoholics.
And they like to smoke, and they have 3 beautiful kids, and they're all the age of my daughter. So oldest is my daughter's age 6, and then I want to say 6, 4, and 3. And their neighbors came over, they're drinking and everything else, and the contrast is so beautiful because if you just go into Mother Nature, the trees slow you down, and you don't need anything, and it automatically gets you to homeostasis, and you just feel so naturally high. Yep. And it was so beautiful. My wife and we went on a run and did our thing, and very grateful to have her because we're very in sync, know what we're doing, on the same page. It's no matter what. Regimen in that sense, but we'll help them eventually. They'll get there. They're starting to see it. She took some of my She Legit, and she's learning a little bit about what's out there and different things because she's going through some painful stuff. She has something psoriasis or something of
Skin
like the
condition?
bone or something.
Oh,
She has like skin condition and she has like another one. It's like in her bones. It's these excruciating. Like her body is like screaming. So anyone who's like viewing, listening, if you have like parents or yourself, you're in pain, ties in, like you said, your nervous system, and you got to go within to be able to like release the pain from like an organic sense,
that's gonna go over so many people's heads, dude.
right?
Which is so sad.
It's sad.
But like the body map of emotional trauma is
Oh.
such a fantastic resource.
So
And,
amazing.
like this is gonna not make sense to people, but hopefully, if you're this far into the podcast, you know some of the nuggets that we've left for you are opportunities for you to pull on those threads and go digging and doing your own research and choosing self. But your body is your subconscious mind. It presents itself in the trauma that your body has, whether it is just the way that you are or something that happened to you is very indicative of what's going on emotionally in your life. So if you can look up the emotional body map, that's a really helpful way of facilitating your journey inward and facing the ever elusive ego, right?
I love it.
The ego is a slippery.
I love that.
That thing is very, very slithery. it's elusive, man, and I think that's part of the reason why doing this work together with other men is so helpful. Is
Amen.
There's other men that can help
Yeah.
identify blind spots and question and help lead you to a different conclusion versus believing the same bullshit story that you bought into all your life.
I love that.